On the news, PDP loses another governor to APC. Senate worried over vandalism of rail tracks. And Senate considers bill prohibiting ransom payments. Glad to have you join us on News Now. I am Folashade Ogurinde. The governor of Cross River State, Ben Ayade, has formally withdrawn his membership from the People's Democratic Party, PDP, and announced his defection to the All Progressives Congress, APC. Ayade made the announcement on Thursday morning after a meeting with some APC governors and members of the National Assembly at Cross River Government House. Members of the State Executive Council were also present at the meeting held to effect Ayade's defection to the ruling party. Ayade was elected to the office of governor in 2015 on the PDP platform and won a re-election for a second term in 2019 under the same party, defeating the APC's candidate. The Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, on Wednesday slammed Southern governors for banning open grazing in the region. According to the AGF, ban on open grazing is equivalent to Northern governors banning spare parts trading in their own region, considering the fact that Southerners comprise a majority of spare parts traders in the North. Malami, who spoke while featuring on a television interview monitored in Lagos, says the governor's decision violates the constitution of the country, which guarantees freedom of movement for all citizens. Meanwhile, the Ondo State Governor, Rotimi Akeredolu, has tackled the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, for faulting the ban placed on open grazing in the southern part of the country. Akeredolu, who is the chairman, Southern Governors Forum, said the decision of the forum is irreversible and will be enforced. To speak more on this issue, a legal practitioner, Adamson Adeboro, joins us via Skype from Abuja. Thank you very much for joining us on News Now. What do you make of Malami's opinion on the freedom of movement for all Nigerians, especially when compared to the right of governors to make laws on land use?
Well, I am listening to the Attorney General of the Federation and with rapt attention. But one thing that we have to have in mind is that though the Constitution provides for fundamental rights, these rights are not absolute. So the right to freedom of movement guaranteed to all Nigerians is not absolute. So for you to exercise that right, you must be seen to exercise those rights within the confines of the law. So to me, the comparison of freedom of movement as regards the harassment and the spare parts dealers are not, it's somehow, to say the least.
Now, of course, you said, okay, go ahead.
Now, the issue is this. When you look at whether the harassment are within the confines, are operating within the confines of the law, the evidence is everywhere. You can see it anywhere you go. Even in Abuja, you see these harassment with their tattoos everywhere. Even at the Federal Secretariat of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, in my camera, in everywhere. And above all, when you are exercising the right of movement and you are killing people, you are destroying property. Now you are operating outside the confines of the law. You can therefore not compare this kind of person who are committing criminality, crimes of all manners of degrees, with people who are carrying out their business peacefully in the north. You cannot compare them. There is no comparison between the two.
Now, Mr. Adamson, let's take a look at it strictly from the legal perspective. The Attorney General is saying that with regards to the law, every Nigerian can stay in whatever region they want to stay in, as long as they're being legal and they are not constituting any nuisance in that area. But taking a look at what the Southern governors have said, they say that they do not want open grazing. Now, take a look at it strictly from the legal perspective. When you take this to the Supreme Court, for example, who would win this case?
Obviously, those who are saying you don't want open grazing will surely have a free day in the court. And the reason is simple. Your activities in open grazing have been injurious to the society. And to this extent, we are not saying leave our land absolutely. We are saying we want to confine you to a particular area where you can carry on your business. What more can you get in a civilized society than this? All over the world, in America, in the United Kingdom, or any part of the Western world, what we have are ranches. Nobody is having open grazing anywhere. This is outdated. We're in 21st century. Why are we still operating in 15th century? That's the issue the governors of the southern part of Nigeria are saying. And I agree with them. I agree with them absolutely.
All right, legal practitioner Adamson Adeboro, thank you very much for sharing your thoughts on the matter. Moving on, the Federal Executive Council (FEC) at its meeting on Wednesday has approved a total sum of 8.8 billion naira for the completion of the Bagwal irrigation project in Kano State and the Biu water supply project in Borno State. The Minister of Water Resources, Suleiman Adamu, told State House correspondents after the virtual FEC meeting presided by Vice President Yemi Osinbajo at the Presidential Villa in Abuja that the Bagwal irrigation project was stalled due to lack of funds.
Council was gracious to approve this augmentation with a sum of 3.762 billion naira, bringing the new contract sum from 5.4 billion to 9.2 billion, inclusive of 7.5% VAT with an additional completion period of 24 months plus another 12 months defects liability period. The second memo was for requesting for augmentation for Biu water supply project. Again, this is a project that was started in 2001, but is still yet to be completed. It ran into a lot of problems, mainly associated with funding and the Boko Haram insurgency. So we sought for an augmentation. There were two contracts, lots 1 and 2, which have now been merged into one contract in favor of Nalado Nigeria Limited, who were the contractors for one of the lots.
Meanwhile, the Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, has assured Nigerians that the federal government is working to bring the labor crisis rocking Kaduna State to a peaceful end. Mohammed said the federal government was disturbed about the sudden turn of events in Kaduna State, stressing that the Minister of Labor and Employment, Chris Ngige, is already working to break a truce between the opposing sides.
The federal government is not folding its arms, and already the Minister of Labor and Productivity has waded in and is in touch with both the government of Kaduna State and also the labor. In addition, the security apparatus all over the country, they have also taking preemptive measures to ensure that hoodlums don't take advantage of this situation. In particular, I know that the police has reinforced its patrol around between Kaduna and Abuja, so that we do not witness kidnappers taking advantage of this situation.
The Nigerian Senate has considered a bill that seeks to prohibit the payment and receipt of ransom for the release of any person kidnapped, imprisoned or wrongfully confined. The Terrorism Prevention Amendment Bill 2021, which scaled second reading during plenary, is sponsored by Ezenwa Onwebichi, The lawmaker said the piece of legislation seeks to amend the Terrorism Prevention Act 2013 to outlaw the payment of ransom to abductors, kidnappers and terrorists for the release of any person who has been wrongfully confined, imprisoned or kidnapped.
Anyone who transfers funds, makes payment or colludes with an abductor, kidnapper or terrorist to receive any ransom for the release of any person who has been wrongfully confined, imprisoned or kidnapped is guilty of a felony and is liable on conviction to a term of imprisonment of not less than 15 years. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, hostage taking or kidnapping has become a fast and lucrative business in Nigeria. It has now remained the most virulent form of banditry in Nigeria and the most pervasive and intractable violent crime in the country. Kidnapping is on the increase in Nigeria, and it is prevalent across all the geopolitical zones. Some blame the rise of this criminal activity on poverty, religion, politics, deficiency of existing laws, unemployment, connivance of security agents, corruption, greed, among others. Our unemployed youths are also turning to kidnapping to get money as a survival strategy.
The Terrorism Prevention Bill 2021, after scaling second reading, was referred by the Senate President Hamid Lawan to the Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters for further legislative work.
A bill for an act to amend the Terrorism Prevention Act 2013 and for other matters connected there to 2021 second reading taken, and the bill is referred to the Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters to report back within 4 weeks.
Moving on, the Nigerian Senate has condemned the recent spike in the dismantling and vandalization of rail lines across the country. The lawmakers expressed deep concerns on the worsening trend following a motion moved on the floor of the Senate by Buhari Abdul Fatai, representing Oyo North Senatorial District. TV360 News Now tells us more.
The administration of President Muhammadu Buhari has been investing massively in the rails to upgrade the country's transportation system and boost economic activities. With lines from Lagos to Ibadan, Abuja to Kaduna, Warri to Itakpe, critical economic hubs in the country are gradually being connected by rail for easy movement of goods across the country. Nigerians were, however, shocked when videos surfaced on the internet of vandals cutting away some of the rail track irons. The vandals had successfully loaded some of their loot in the vehicle before they were apprehended in an operation carried out in one of the newly fixed rail lines.
Recently, some unscrupulous person damaged, vandalized, and maliciously cut some portion of the newly constructed Warri Itakpe rail line at about 30 kilometers in Adogo, Kogi State. Aware that the Niger State, the Nigerian police force intercepted truck loaded with rail track and pieces of rail slipper along Katangari Mina Road, and worried that all aforementioned rail vandalism can cause acute train mishap, resulting in the loss of precious life, which is tantamount to murder and destruction of property.
If there is a way we can employ even capital punishment for these people, I think it's better. Because if we don't do that, at the end of the day, we will lose precious lives.
The most heart-rendering problem in this is that most of the people that were photographed on social media are in their early 40s, 20s, 30s, and 40s. The people who will need this in the future.
The Nigerian Senate is worried that if this criminal activity is not urgently nipped in the bud, it could lead to massive economic sabotage and loss of revenue for government.
Give enough punishment to these criminals. We should amend the existing law so that capital punishment will be imposed on those that vandalize our rail lines. Mr. President, this is criminal and we should take it very seriously.
I don't know what economic sabotage is, if this is not one. And we must take interest on what happens with those that were caught. We need to follow the trial or the prosecution, because there must be a very good example of punishment on people that give us this kind of trouble in the country.
The Senate urged the relevant authorities, including the Nigerian Railway Corporation, to increase security surveillance across these rail tracks and urged government to fish out the perpetrators of this crime. Semisola Tukun, TV360 News.
The Defense Headquarters has restated the commitment of the armed forces to tackling current security challenges in the country by restoring peace to all troubled zones. The Acting Director, Defense Media Operations, Brigadier General Ben Onyeko, gave the assurance during a press briefing on the activities of the armed forces between the 1st to 20th May 2021. Onyeko said within the period under review, troops intensified efforts in various theaters to neutralize all security threats such as terrorism, banditry, kidnapping, secessionist activities, amongst others.
Our troops neutralized scores of terrorists and bandits, including senior Boko Haram and Islamic State of West African Province terrorists, and the Eastern Security Network commanders, as well as major bandit leaders. Similarly, many of their fighters were incapacitated and their camps destroyed through artillery and air bombardment. Also, troops rescued several kidnapped victims and arrested bandits and kidnappers, informants and collaborators in different parts of the country. Our operations also inhibited activities of economic saboteurs, as well as exposed and forestalled other criminal activities. Troops also recovered several large caches of arms and ammunition, as well as equipment, vehicles, and livestock within the period. In the maritime domain, our troops disrupted smuggling activities, immobilized illegal oil refining sites, arrested some perpetrators, seized illegally imported rice and other contraband goods, as well as recovered some petroleum products.
We'll take a break here, but still to come, UNICEF says 98 million Nigerians need vaccination. All this and more after the break. Now let's take a recap of some of our top stories. Governor of Cross River State Ben Ayade has formally withdrawn his membership of the People's Democratic Party (PDP) and announced his defection to the All Progressives Congress (APC). We also told you that the Nigerian Senate has considered a bill that seeks to prohibit the payment and receipt of ransom for the release of any person kidnapped, imprisoned or wrongfully confined. The Terrorism Prevention Bill 2021, which scaled second reading during plenary, is sponsored by Ezinwa Onwewuchi. In case you missed any of our news bulletin or for more updates, do log on to our website on www.tv360nigeria.com. You can also follow us on our social media platforms on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube and Google Plus at TV360 Nigeria. On Facebook, we're at TV360 Online. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control (NCDC) has announced 43 new cases of coronavirus infection recorded in the country in the last 24 hours. According to the data released by the Public Health Agency, the new cases were reported across 6 states, with Lagos leading the chart with 19 cases, followed by Rivers with 14. Meanwhile, Nigeria's only reported 6 deaths in the past 45 days, lower than what was recorded over the same period since the disease started spreading in the country over a year ago. The United Nations Children's Emergency Fund, UNICEF, says Nigeria needs to vaccinate over 100 million of its citizens against COVID-19, but has so far been able to inoculate just fewer than 2 million people. The Nigerian representative of UNICEF, Peter Hawkins, said this in Abuja on Wednesday at the launch of the National Social Behavior Change Campaign on COVID-19 in Nigeria. The global organization said investigations show that despite the spread of devastating COVID-19 strains in neighboring West African countries, the federal government has abandoned the enforcement of safety measures at the land borders. Hawkins added that the country still had a long way to go since 100 million is the target. Well, up next is Business Stories. Do stay with us.
In the last 3 years, we have built a multi-purpose center, which is the envy of all in our constituency. And I can tell you that the people who are living there are already enjoying it.
Guy, do you think what this man just said is true? See, I seriously doubt. I'm sure it's one of those their silly lies.
And wait, do you know there's a way to find out if these things he's saying is true or not? This is the Construct app. It gives people like us a sure way to track implementation of constituency projects. It gives valid and verified information on location of projects, amounts allocated, amount funded, the level of job done, and even the profiles of concerned legislators. You and I can post directly on this app.
Are you serious?
This is the Go-To app if you want to know how our Commonwealth is being expanded by the government.
Wow. Let's even see if what this man said is true. Show me.
The Construct app is developed by Other Paper Nigeria with support from USAID and is available on both Google Play Store and Apple Store.
And it's true.
Of course, I told you.
Well, up next is business news and stock market review with Mary Kanu.
Thank you very much for that, Shadi. A president of the World Bank Group, David Malpass, says the financial institution plans to invest $150 billion in Africa within the next 5 years towards promoting development on the continent. With about $200 billion invested in Africa over the decade by the World Bank, Malpass reaffirmed the bank's commitment to financing development in Africa. He added that the fund will be made available through grants and long-term zero-interest rate loans from the International Development Agency. And the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, MAN, says until the federal government fixes all the infrastructural deficiencies across the country, the participation of the country's manufacturing sector in the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, AfCFTA, will begin to have a meaningful contribution to the nation's economy. The national president of the association, Mansur Ahmed, who was represented by the Vice President Lagos Zone, John Aluya, made the remarks at the business meeting of the association. Meanwhile, the branch chairman of MAN Ikeja Zone, Francis Meshioye, noted that the new normal occasioned by the COVID-19 pandemic has called for the need to reposition the Nigerian manufacturing sector in order to meet the new global demands.
You will recall that at a point there were allegations that MAN did not want the government to sign to AfCFTA. That was not the true position. Our position was very clear. We want to know what the government has done. So what will be the impact of AfCFTA on the local manufacturers? How will they be able to deal with the infrastructural deficiency that we have? These are the questions we put before the government at that time, with the belief that the government will wake up and address the deficiencies. We are not against global trade.
We are shifting our dependency from majorly on the government to bringing out what can do better so that government will come as a support, or by that one, government will now have no choice but to keen towards assisting us in achieving our growth, because I'm sure government will not want to see the manufacturing industry die.
In terms of the AfCFTA, there is actually a need, for you as a manufacturing concern to think of two types of strategies. You should be looking at it and saying your offensive strategy as the African market comes together. Where do you want to play? Yes, you are in Nigeria, but it's now a bigger market. So you actually have room to go out of Nigeria. You have room to go into Ghana. You have room to go into Cote d'Ivoire. You have room to go to South Africa. The AfCFTA just ensures that it becomes, when I say, it's now easier for goods, for services, for products, for people to move across borders.
Well, we'll take a pause now and return with stock market reviews. Stay with us. More than 60 billion naira is knocked off from the total value of the Nigerian stock market as the bear extends its dominance for the fourth day amid intense profit by some investors. The entire gains recorded from the bullish seasons this month have been completely wiped off, with the all-share index recording or falling further by 0.30%. The loss here comes largely due to an over 7 kobo drop in the share prices of Sterling Bank and Royal Exchange, both equities coming from the financial services sector. Meanwhile, Trans Express and Prestige with 17 kobo gains topped the list of the top gainers for today. Now, the activity chart sees 157 million volumes of shares traded in 2,822 deals with a value of over 1.7 billion naira. Now, onto the foreign scene. We see that global stocks are clawing back most of the losses made in yesterday's sharp fall as Bitcoin is slowly bouncing back and bargain hunters have moved in for the recovery being witnessed as all stocks are currently trading in the greens. FTSE is trading at 0.44%, Dow Jones is trading at 0.53%, while Asian stock Nikkei is trading at 0.19%. Well, that's all on stock market review. It's back to Folashade for the rest of the news.
Thank you very much, Mary, for bringing us up to speed on the latest in the world of business and stock markets. Moving on now to the foreign scene, Spain has accused Morocco of blackmail and aggression following the influx of thousands of migrants into the Spanish enclave of Ceuta. Official statistics report that a record number of about 8,000 Moroccan migrants, including an estimated 2,000 minors, have irregularly crossed the Moroccan to Spanish coast since May 17. Madrid has accused Rabat of deliberately allowing the migrants to enter its territory. Spain's Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez says the lack of border control by Morocco is not only a show of disrespect to Spain, but rather for the European Union. Well, up next is Entertainment Report.
Popular Nigerian on-air personality turned actress Omotunde Adebowale David, also known as Adaku, is currently bereaved over the demise of her mother. The actress made the announcement via her Instagram account on Wednesday morning. The death comes a few weeks after she took to social media to recount how she survived a terrible accident alongside her kids, where neither of them was hurt. Friends and fans have since sent their condolences in the comment section of her Instagram handle to sympathize with her. Aloma, a former personal assistant to Nigeria's superstar Davido, has revealed that he was offered 100 million naira while in police custody to indict the singer over their friend Tagbo Umenike, who died in 2017 from excessive alcohol consumption, according to autopsy reports. Aloma stated that shortly after the death of their friend, he was arrested for murder. He mentioned that he spent 18 days in an overcrowded cell and at a point was offered 100 million naira to indict the singer, saying that he killed Tagbo. Aloma revealed that they had written many statements because of the case, but they were mandated to write another statement pointing to Davido. The news of his death was announced by Nollywood actress Caroline Danjuma, who claimed to be a close friend to the deceased. That's all on the entertainment segment of News Now.
Away from entertainment now to sports, Anthony Joshua called Tyson Fury a fraud in a furious social media exchange after the news that their heavyweight showdown might be off. The pair looked set for a highly anticipated meeting in August, but an arbitration hearing with Fury must first face American Deontay Wilder. Joshua, in a tweet, said Fury let boxing down by lying to the fans and leading them on. In response, Fury challenged Joshua to a bare-knuckle fight. The teams behind the two British heavyweights have engaged in lengthy negotiations to get what has been billed as one of the biggest fights in heavyweight boxing for decades over the line. Well, it's a wrap on our news bulletin. Thank you for watching. I am Fola Shadi. Green Day.